look for people who would be trustees. There are others from Soshanguve who also came with him, who are part of the trustee. And he said, for you, I'll put this weight on your shoulders. You shall be the president of the Tlou Cholo Foundation. So that is a yoke that is on my shoulders, and I trust and hope and pray that I will live up to it, and I do live up to it, even though sometimes we are attacked from all angles, but we must stand firm and live as we have been instructed to do so by destiny, by the God or so who we don't see. How do we leave this legacy? I think that's the substance of the question. And what about succession planning? I believe that everyone is born good. Well, I can go into Marxism, Leninism, and all that, but I think we must come down and talk about who we are. We were poor, we were oppressed, but sometimes we slept with our doors open because we respected the other as same as us. Ubuntu butu. We must go back to the basics of community, back to the basics of it taking a village to raise a child, back to the basics of hard work for the common good as we tilled the fields and so forth and so forth. And that is what we must find in ourselves. The lives that the generation of Tlou Cholo lived, who then, when their communities were invaded by colonialists and oppressors, they stood to fight for their tribes, for their communities, for their country. They didn't watch and just hand themselves over. They fought for their values. And that's what we must do, even under severe pressure. Some of them, they use and when that comes, we must actually call for unity. The ANC is beyond its leaders and members because it brought everybody together across different tribes, across different social classes, and across different faiths at the time to defend the nation. And whatever we do, wherever we are, we must say, how do we defend the nation? How do we become patriotic? I want to say that we are available for lectures, but we must also, I agree with the minister, we must be held accountable as leaders. And what I want to leave, especially on behalf of the Tlou Cholo Foundation, as a challenge for all of us, and in particular putting you on the spot, Minister, is that universities and TVET colleges can't be ivory towers. They must be relevant to the communities they are in, relevant to the communities where the students come from. I'm also guilty because I was part and parcel of graduating lots and lots and lots and lots of young people without knowing how they are going to make a living in the economy. So we, all of us, must take accountability and responsibility. I'm encouraged that this institution, led by the then chairperson of council, established an institute of work. That's what we call it, Prof. The Institute of the Future of Work, together with industry, so that as the students, are training and the industry changes, the curriculum adapts. And you will then be able to lessen this whole notion that is so belittling our nation of unemployed graduates. I think we must think out of the box. The Minister of Science and Innovation, when also challenged recently, he said he is looking at also funds to innovate solutions in the economy. Venture capital for that, like the Silicon Valley. We must use the CSIR that the minister has raised here to innovate solutions. We can and we must. So we are not a nation of a lesser God. We must say, yes, here are objective problems, and that we have what it takes as a nation. The other problem we have is that those with knowledge are sometimes marginalized. We must get the best amongst us in every sector. For my part, I try a little bit. I also am an lecturer extraordinaire at the University of Pretoria Public Health faculty. So those that are in engineering, let them come here from the industry. Let's bridge the gap. I think that's what succession would mean. But we must all take accountability and responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor Dr. Gwen. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we ran out of time. We are not going to do justice to the Q&A. I'm glad that Mayor Dr. Gwen mentioned something very important. Mr. Sonti, maybe it could be a follow-up. She said we are available for lectures. I don't think this Q&A session for tonight it's going to answer all the questions, but I don't want to be rude because there was a gentleman who was about to ask a question and we literally took the microphone from him. I requested the minister to sit just for your question. Say, if you can just be very quick on your question to allow the minister to answer, and then we are coming to the last part of the program.
All right, thanks very much. My name is Thokozane Sidibe. I'm from Mpumalanga, Nelspruit. I studied in Bombela campus, TUT. So thank you very much, Minister, for taking your time coming here to address us and talk to us, the students. So my question goes to the issue of student cancellation bill, which is in student cancellation bill, which is currently in process. We've seen government gazette was out to say they invite us for comments. So I will be happy if you can touch on that or maybe give us updates on what's happening since you're still in Parliament. So the reason why I'm asking this question is because I'm one of the students who are affected by student debt. Minister? Can I proceed? Okay. The reason why I'm asking this question is because I'm one of the students who are affected by historic debt. So my qualification is still withheld with the university. You know how difficult it is to apply if you don't have the actual qualification. Some of the institutions, they don't consider academic records and completing the task. So I would like to hear from you, Minister, on the updates about the student cancellation bill, on what's happening now. Thanks very much.
Okay, so this is a big problem. 2019 Treasury gave us about 2 billion rand to contribute towards student debt. And at the time, I think huge strides were made with that 2 billion. And then I think 5-6 years later, student debt stand at 24 billion rands. And it's rising. This is a combination of very little debt that's owed to universities by students who are NSFAS beneficiaries or bursary recipients. The significant number of this debt is of students who are supposed to be self-pay. And it is not just a South African problem. and it's comprising a whole range of factors. So I want to give this background so that we understand that at the end of the day, it's not about just you and what you own. At some point, I think 2 or 3 years ago, the banks in the United States were warning that the student debt may trigger the second global economic crisis. And I think you can see with the rapidity within which student debt has increased, that it is something that we need to attend to. It's because the cost of education has increased, and post-school education and training has been underfunded. The cost of living in general has increased. But also, I think importantly, that we has to, as a country, think about the sustainability of student funding. So it shouldn't only be about canceling the existing debt. If you cancel 24 billion rand, or if I go to Prof. Maluleka here and say that there's about billion rand that's owed to TUT, I don't know how much is your historical debt, Prof. I need to be able to say to him, that Treasury will come in this way, because if we cancel student debt on the part of students without telling institutions how is it that they are going to be kept afloat, we'll basically be running these institutions into collapse. I think it's so when we we're talking about what we're going to do in the next few days, the first few months as a ministry and as a department, one of the issues which we prioritized is historical debt, and historical debt as a social debt, and how we need to deal with that. Because even if we transfer it from the student to the university, we still have to do that. In the past, there was a protocol agreed to between the department and universities and or TVET colleges that students who graduate, even if they haven't paid, should be given their transcript so that they can get employment. We'll have to revisit that. We will also have to find ways. There were a lot of proposals which were made from the HEHA Commission, and in that period, about 10, 11 years ago. And I think the only low-hanging fruit at the time for government was, apply fee-free education for certain category of students without looking at the implications for all the other students. And I think we need to go back to that. So, should we be talking about giving students their qualification, but making sure that we work with SARS, that if they earn at a certain level, automatically that debt is paid back? Because at the end of the day, and I think also discussions around how NSFAS bursary recipients should, contribute to the South African state. We were in, what's the country now? Just this week, Ireland. And some of the businessmen in Ireland were telling us that South Africa is a good hunting ground for skills. Now, government and the South African society spends money to produce these skills. So there has to be some obligation, to serve the state. So I think it's a combination of, discussions, which may include cancellation as one of the options, but how do we make sure that upon graduating, students become productive? Because as is now, you are of no use to the country that paid for your education. And I think we need to, think of just more than one solution, more than canceling the debt. What are the other interventions? Yes, you may not afford it, but should we also cancel it for those, who are DGs from TUT, who may still owe, TUT, but who can afford to pay? And I think all of those dynamics have to come into play. But at the end of the day, the question of access to education must not be a question that only higher education answers. It must be a question that a whole of society answers. Where are we going to get money to pay, not just for those who qualify for NSFAS, but also for those who qualify to get access to education, but do not meet the means test and should go into education. So basically, we have to revamp the entire student funding model and ensure that it becomes sustainable. So it's not just you, who owe as an individual, or a group of individuals who owe and couldn't get bursaries. Even we owe universities as the state, through government. So I think let's have a comprehensive discussion about this. But in the most immediate, I think we'll have to go back and renew that compact that we had, on behalf of students with universities, around students being given their transcripts once they qualify, and once they work, arrangements being made for them to pay back that money, just as NSFAS used to do in the past. And just as NSFAS suggests we do with the missing middle. I hope that answers the question. Thank you very much. And I also hope that, we will use today our engagement, and into the future to take forward the memory of Dr. Tlou Theophilus Cholo. Amandla.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the Q&A session. Can we please give the minister a big round of applause? Thank you. Over to you, Program Director.
A round of applause for that very powerful and interactive session. Thank you so much for engaging our Honorable Minister, and thank you, Honorable Minister, for those positive engagements, and thank you, Dr. Libambo, for facilitating that so well. We are now moving towards the end of our program, but before we close off, allow me to welcome and invite Professor Maseremule, who is going to just render a vote of thanks. Please, a round of applause as we welcome Prof.
Good evening. Prof. Maluleke, Dr. Gwen, Honorable Minister, I'm told that we have a delegation from Bakone Traditional Council. So I just want us to welcome them. I just want us to say to them that we are privileged and honored by their presence this evening on this important occasion to celebrate Dr. Cholo. Coming back to your doc, Ramokhopa, let me start by implicating myself, because I know that I will certainly get away with murder, because my job is to thank you. Who will not want to be thanked? I may not be innocent in how the theme of this lecture is framed, but I'm happy that you are rejoined that to the question whether the Cholo generation was betrayed did not reach my inbox. This, I think, it was a blessing in disguise, because, wow, you did answer the question after all. Let me also do what I'm here for by going back to the church in Milan. There was a bishop called Ambrose of Milan, a renowned 4th century theologian and statesman, who eloquently said, and I quote, "No duty is more urgent than that of returning to thanks." Close quote. I accordingly use his words to fulfill this simple, joyful duty this evening, which is to sincerely thank all of you on behalf of the Tshwane University of Technology for your presence in this 4th annual legacy lecture of Dr. Tlou Cholo, which is an opportunity to learn about what it means to be human. How must we relate to each other? Why are we where we are today as a people, as a nation? Let's thank Dr. Cholo and his family for giving us this moment of historical consciousness to revel in the joy of learning from the horse mouth. Cholo and his generation believe in the beauty of a dream for us and for future generation to live in a society where it's a society free of racial and gender discrimination. That's the point that the Honorable Minister emphasized as part of the teaching of Dr. Cholo and his generation. They tirelessly pursue this vision on our behalf. Today, we embrace the freedom that resulted from their sacrifices. The least we can do is to embody their teaching. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister Budimanamela, for helping us to answer whether the lessons of Tlou Cholo generation have been betrayed. Your lecture raises many questions that prompt us to seize the opportunity created by the exigency of our time to engage in a dialogue with ourselves. Cholo's colossal legacy is a lodestar, an elan vital, reminding us all to regularly reflect on the state of our humanity. In other words, are we who Cholo was arrested for in 1972 as an MK operative, imprisoned for 15 years on Robben Island to be freed from the shackles of apartheid? If so, why do we continue to see the future of our children going up in smoke on our campuses, where the infrastructure for teaching and learning and research is set alight? Can it really be our students who are doing this? The burning of their future to ashes? Either way, this question is answered. Yet another question confronts us. And these unfortunate incidents on our campuses a reflection of the state of our national consciousness, where Faustian tendencies are increasingly becoming the future of the post-apartheid society? Frantz Fanon, in his book, The Wretched of the World, warned about this. And he described them as the pitfalls of national consciousness. Given my role as the Executive Dean of the Faculty of Humanities, where I have a privilege of leading initiative to deepen our understanding of human society, culture, and behavior, it would be remiss of me not to ask this question because as part of protecting the legacy of Cholo generation, we must ensure that spaces of learning remain sites where knowledge as an ongoing process of creation must encourage students to read broadly, study diligently, to foster not only their cognitive growth, but also shape their character, thus preparing them for responsible citizenry. Cholo loves education. He talks about technology. He talks about climate change, amongst others. By insisting on this, Cholo says to us, in the words of one British author, William Bridges, I quote, "Staying in the past time when our continued presence is generative can result in damage," close quote. I say all this, ladies and gentlemen, to also acknowledge the excellent work that my team from TUT did in organizing this event. Regina Mutlomi, Dr. Lerato Mutsisi, Portia Davana, working closely with the Cholo Foundation, demonstrated that your efforts were not merely logistical exercises, but facilitated the creation of this beautiful evening where ideas intersect. Thank you so much to our alumni who animated the life of Cholo in the musical play, The Fatherland, and Dr. Tlou Cholo. We greatly appreciate the biography that you wrote about Cholo, including Malisela Maubane. Keep on writing about Cholo in the public space, in the mainstream media, to remind society about his legacy. State Theatre, you have just become a wonderful partner. Thank you so much. And to Cholo Foundation, keep pushing forward in preserving the legacy of this great man. Professor Tinyeko Malulega, thank you for always reminding us why we exist as a university, especially the role that we should play in shaping society. Honorable Minister, you do not know what it means to us that you always keep your door open for us. Mrs. Zama Zikali, you have been a wonderful program director. Thank you. Dr. Mashia Levambo, you have been an awesome interlocutor. And thank you to all for being wonderful audience, ask wonderful questions. I did not put them up, Minister. They just asked that question. Thank you so much. Good evening. May I invite the TUT leadership, the VC, and Dr. Gwen as well, the council, and the chairperson of Alumina. Please assist me to hand over a gift to the Minister of Higher Education.
Sure, I'm doing that now. Just hold on. Okay, cool. Lovely. Get closer, madam. Madam, get closer. Sure. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Leave it. It's fine. Thank you. Then when you're done, remove this from me. Thank you. Are you fine?
Thank you once more.
Lovely.
A round of applause for that session. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. And may I please request that we do not leave, because we are going to now invite the Fatherland musical over to you. And let us welcome them with a round of applause, please.